But Eric, to
Yeah.
answer your question, I think our overall, paid social goal is 10x again.
All right, let's go.
With you.
Let's go.
Hello and welcome to Pilothouse Rocket Seat, the show where we focus on some of the amazing brands and entrepreneurs that we've partnered with at Pilothouse to help scale. So if a diamond is forever, what does it mean for the e-commerce watch company that has set probably close to 10 million diamonds into its designer timepieces already? Today, we are super lucky to have JBW Diamond Watches join us on the Rocket Seat today with founder Amir Meghani and head of marketing Frank Alfaro. Welcome to Rocket Seat, guys. How you doing?
Good. Thanks so much for having us. Good to be here.
Yeah, thanks for having
What
us.
an intro. What an intro.
Yeah, thanks very much. We also have, of course, the Peanut Gallery, Nate Vankoughnet, one of our lead media buyers, and our creative director, Cam Wind. This has been a long time coming. This is actually our first client, our first client interview that we've done, and I think there's not a better client to be working with than you guys. It's been quite a ride, and we'll talk a little bit about it today. But first, Amir, can you tell us the brand story of how JBW Diamond Watches came to be?
Yeah. So my family's been in the watch business since the early 1950s. My grandfather started by just selling watch bands, just the straps of watches in India. And it was kind of like a side hustle. He was an accountant at a grocery store. This is like, we're talking about pre-fax machines, pre-everything. So, it was literally going door to door, selling watch straps to shops in India. And then, moved on to getting into watches. And then they decamped from India 16 years later to Dubai in 1968. And they set up like a legitimate watch store selling Japanese-made watches to like the working class of Dubai. And this is before Dubai is the Dubai that we know, when it was just a desert. Well, it's still a desert, but, really just, a very different place. But, from 1968 to 1990, him and his brother set up about 4 retail shops there, and we're selling watches. So my dad grew up around watches. He became the distributor for Casio out there. And then after we moved to America in 1990, my dad got back into the watch business, having pretty much kind of like a semi-wholesale shop in Dallas, buying and selling other brands. And so I kind of grew up around the watch business, right? On the weekends, I'd go to my dad's shop, hang out, we'd have lunch. It was just a place that we went through all the time. And after I graduated school in 2006, he kind of asked me to come back and like kind of help him out. Him and his like brother-in-law, who were in business together, kind of split up, and my dad literally opened a shop a couple blocks away, and started his own watch store. So I kind of came back, got thrown into it. And at that time, still, he was buying and selling other brands. And a year or two into it, I was like, I started studying the watch industry, and I was like, I want to start our own thing. Like, let's make our own watch brand. And, kind of fearless in that sense as an entrepreneur, just like, oh, let's get right into it. And that's what we did. And that's kind of how JBW started. It was like one style. We ordered 300 watches and we just started selling them, and they were selling them out of his shop. There used to be like these like local rappers that would come into my dad's shop and be like, hey, like, let's like, can you get me this watch? And can you get me that? And I was like, oh yeah, of course I can do it. And so we were just like buying and selling like these brands we were buying out of New York and LA. And I was like, I just want to start my own thing and start giving you guys my own brand to like go and wear and promote and stuff like that. And that's just really how it started. And, just hustling, getting it onto as many people. And this is like before Facebook, before Instagram, like literally going to concerts, gifting them, taking pictures with a celebrity or an artist. Like that was the hustle to get the name out there. And then, we kind of got really fortunate. We started a partnership with Amazon, and that's kind of where I got into e-commerce, and really just learned by, selling directly to Amazon. Like they were one of our first big retail partners. And this is like before it was like marketplace selling. It was like we were shipping them watches directly and they were selling them for us. So we had that retail partnership and just continued to grow and build more partnerships with retailers. And we started as a business to business brand. Like we had our own website, but it didn't even have an e-commerce function. It was literally just to display pricing and branding, and people were finding them in other places. And then we, eventually launched our own store, had our own social media channels, but our whole business was focused on serving the need of our retail partners, not of our own kind of like retail channel. And that's kind of like, when we moved over from Magento to Shopify and started learning a little bit more about doing e-commerce. And I would say that we were late to the game compared to a lot of other brands who may have started right on a Shopify, or who may have started with social media marketing. We did it in a very traditional way. And then Frank joined our team and, learned Shopify, and really has been instrumental in taking our brand from literally doing like 0 revenue to like we're doing crazy numbers today. And obviously then our relationship started, and we've really been, it's been a great marriage of like us focusing on our brand and then being able to partner with an agency who can help amplify our story and get it out in front of the right people, and really educate us in the process of how direct response marketing really works. And so that's kind of like where we are today. And it's been an amazing, I think, almost 2 years with you guys. Actually, not even, like a year and a half.
Yeah, about a year and a half, yeah.
Yeah, it feels like so much longer. We've done so much in 18 months.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're just like super excited about the partnership. Pilothouse is a buzzword all around our office. Everyone knows you guys. And it's like, oh, anything for them, or the ad agency's asking for this. Like, all right, because we're a results-driven organization. And I think that's why we partner really well with you guys.
Very cool. Well, let's talk a little bit about that. Like, how did you find out about Pilothouse, and how did we get on your radar, and then how do we close your business? Dave was telling me a little bit about the courting process.
Yeah, I mean, it really wasn't courting. I came to Dave.
Okay.
I have a friend in Dallas, which is where we're headquartered. Me and him went out to lunch one day, and he was telling me about. He's like, "Oh, you gotta like, I've been working with this agency." And it was the guys over at, I think their company, they're not in business anymore. It's called Visualize. They're out of San Diego. They're like doing like the athletic partnerships with athletes. But anyways,
okay.
I guess like you guys were kind of working with them. And he told me, he's like, these guys are awesome. I went and visited them in Canada. Like they're a great group of guys, super hungry. Like they want to grow. And they're really different than a lot of the agencies, I guess, he interviewed, in the sense that like, he said that you guys were very much about working with brands, like, and the way that the agency structure was set up, that it was a lot of like, it was very dependent on like performance, and which I liked, because, we were new to this. And like, I didn't just want to like be a part of some agency and just like another like line item, like another brand that they have. And Dave really like talked me through the process. And actually, when we first discussed it, he didn't even, we didn't even end up going through with it. Like we talked about it in the summer of 18, or yeah, summer of 18.
2018.
And then we didn't even, it was like October. And we're like, you know what? I was like, got with Frank, and I'm like, dude, let's just go for it. Like it's Christmas, like it's Q4, like it's going to work to some degree. And like, we got to just get our feet wet in digital like marketing. And like this thing about it, like 2018 Q4 is the first time we spent $1 on Facebook. So like I said, we were late to it, but like I don't think that matters. I think if you have a good product and like a good partner, like you can get your brand out there and have positive performance. But yeah, and that was kind of the courting process. I said no. I went to Dave, and then like I went back to him. I was like, let's just get started. And boom. It was like October to December. We just crushed it, and the rest is history.
That's great. Yeah. I think that's the story I'm seeing again and again with direct to consumer brands, especially during these challenging times, right? The ones that are positioned with a great product, a great infrastructure, a great team, that are able to pivot in the right way to e-commerce. It's almost a bigger opportunity now just because everyone is sort of dependent on e-com at this point.
Yeah.
Which is really interesting. So let's talk about results. Let's talk about that first month. You come on, you meet the team, you get the audit. Actually, I don't even know if we did audit at this point, if you weren't doing a lot of social before, but just talk about that.
No audit. Maybe Frank can speak to this a little bit. I can't even remember back to the first month.
Say the question again, sorry.
Well, just talk about that first month of working with Pilothouse and what we were able to achieve out of the gate, and how the relationship worked.
Yeah, I think, out of the gate, we were pretty much on the same page with Dave. Like, we understood that we needed to get data before we would actually be seeing those results. So yeah, like that was just kind of the first 3 months, I would say, is, like trying out different things, different targeting, different audiences, really trying to see, harvest that data that we needed. And, I'm pretty sure we were pretty successful right off the bat and seeing some good results. And so, just growing off of that, it was a stepping stone, once we got Facebook to a good spot, we were like, hey, let's throw in something else. So we added Google, I think, was the next thing that we decided to add. We tried Pinterest, and now we're on YouTube. So yeah, it was a really, interesting process of seeing what actually happens, whenever you throw something in, what's going to stick.
Totally. And working, with an agency that is iterating all the time to find those angles. I wanted to just talk quickly too about who your customer avatar is. But when early 2010s, I guess we can say, or the mid 2010s, there were a lot of watch companies that came out that were all about minimalist watch design. And one thing I can tell from JBW Diamond watches is minimalist isn't always your market. So when we basically decided about how we were going to start running this campaign, who is your main customer avatar? Amir, maybe, or?
Yeah. I think our customer is someone that, they're typically they're a guy that's into, I'd say for a guy, our male customer, they're into watches, and they're into luxury watches. They know the big brands. They, they understand, materials. They have a little bit more technical knowledge about watches, because our watches, on average, people are spending anywhere between $300 and $600 on a watch. So, this is probably not their first watch all the time. So it's we have diamonds on our watches, so they're very flashy. So guys that are into making that bold statement, guys that like oversized products. So, they like to shine, and they like to show off that look at my watch on my wrist. And I think why we've been able to find some success versus some other brands, we're just very different in our approach to our product, and we own it. It's a niche that we've built for ourselves, and I think that we're bringing a tremendous amount of value. So customers still value driven. They're willing to try something new. They don't need to go to their jewelry store to see the diamond to buy it. So definitely that's what kind of brings in some of that millennial customer set that's comfortable buying on e-commerce. They, they can trust brands by reading reviews and things like that. And then also we're very established. We're working with the top retailers in the country, and they're all carrying our products. That has definitely helped validate making that kind of higher average order purchase for a watch, compared to some of those upstart minimalist brands that you're talking about that have done really, really well. And I think they serve a certain set of customer. And then with our women, I think women is really girls that are into beauty, they're into fashion, they also like to shine, they like diamonds and glitz on their wrist. There are other brands that have kind of been around in that space, but I feel our designs are just very different. And again, it's still a girl similar to the guy that wants to have something different. But at the same time, a lot of our women's designs are a little bit more understandable versus our guy stuff is just very, very unique. So a lot of times we talk about internally, does our guy and our girl even hang? Are they different? It's still we're still learning so much about our male and female customer. But what we do know is like they love the diamond, they love the glitz, they love like the glam look. And like we just keep leaning into that. You know, we've launched products that have over 500 diamonds on it successfully last year. And the average order value there is like over, you know, into the thousands. So it's really, you know, we've been leaning into our customer.
Yeah, just to add on to what Amir said, you know, I think the people that we, you know, are targeting that really vibe with us are those people who like to live loudly. You know, it takes a really bold person to wear some of the watches that we offer. You know, like they're very flashy, very bold, very unique design. So I think it's someone who appreciates that, you know, that uniqueness and that individuality. Like they want to stand out and really make a statement. So these are, you know, like bold people who, you know, like to have fun, like to travel. And it's also, you know, like I would say, you know, we have a diverse collection. So it's like for those people who, you know, like to collect as well, you know, like Amir was saying, you know, might be their first watch, they might be a collector. So it's a really good price point, I would say as well. You know, it's like, it's a good way to enter the luxury watch market. So, you know, we don't sacrifice quality. You know, we really try to strive for, you know, craftsmanship and customer service. So it's a really cool, you know, product in that sense, as well as like, you know, it's more attainable for people, and more people get their hands on it that, you know, have that personality and that vibe with us.
And if you compare the materials, the technology side by side with these watches that'll cost you 5,000 or whatever, right?
Exactly.
And so anyone who's into the watch, like people buying minimalist watches probably aren't watch people, or maybe they, you know, maybe they have a couple minimalist watches, but like people really want to know about the movement and the settings and everything, right? Like your value is going to stack up so heavily.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Like they're looking at, like before they buy maybe their first Rolex, they're buying, you know, like their first diamond Rolex, right? Like they might be looking at JBW, or like they're into a lot of these like more luxury watch brands. Like you can get some of that like value and look with what we offer at JBW, and then they become like an advocate and like for the brand, because then they start seeing like some of our collections and our designs that like you can't even get with luxury watch brands, you know. And that's something that we are so focused on today as we move into the future, is like our design on our product.
And I think a huge factor too with JBW's growth has been, you know, introducing this new niche of entry level, you know, quality diamond watches. And I think a lot of people buy them maybe for that entry level reason. You know, they're not going to have to spend, you know, $3-4 grand on a watch, but then they end up just buying more JBWs because they like them so much and they're good quality. They see that, you know, just because it's a lot cheaper than these, you know, $5,000 watches, the quality is still there. I think
what's also cool, like the timing could not be better for JBW. Like just looking at even like the content that your influencers make, like what a time for people to stand out, and like what a brand to use to stand out. Like honestly, like with the emergence of social media and Instagram, like it's such a great pairing between people who want to make a statement and who want to, you know, wear a watch that also makes a statement. So I think it's just really cool timing.
Yeah.
Very cool. Okay, now let's bridge this into the actual, because, you know, one of the things we love about working with JBW is your attention to your content. You guys are putting so much investment into your influencer relationships, into the content that you're able to make from that. Talk about that strategy and sort of how we've been able to amplify it. Is that a Frank question?
Yeah,
So,
go ahead, Frank.
Yeah, you know, like I think one thing that we've learned as we've grown with y'all is that video is huge. You know, like we've done some really cool series like Diamond Talk, where Amir kind of goes through and talks about the diamonds, and just, you know, even like influencers like showing like very like simple, you know, watches on their wrists and videos, like it's like has been able to resonate really well. And I think people like seeing like the diamonds, you know, flash and whatnot, and that having that voice too, I think also helps. So video strategy has been huge for us when it comes to content. So we've been trying to see like how we can scale that and how we can become more creative with that. And then also, our whitelist campaigns has definitely been taken off. Mariah, who's heads up our social, has been like key in that, and like bringing in those influencers, and then with y'all's help, getting access to their accounts and being able to promote on using their handle has been huge for us as well. So just like trying to see like how we can take content from influencers and videos and trying to like scale it as much as possible and test as many different things.
Yeah, and I think even a level higher than all that would be just we've collaboratively been able to pinpoint a bunch of pain points that somebody might have and reasons why they might not buy a watch, and we've been really good at narrowing in on those and coming up with content that kind of pushes those fears away, and helps people convert. And we've built that into our retargeting funnel. Things like diamond talk videos with Amir explaining the quality of the diamonds, the movements, and then hitting them with influencer posts, things like that. All that kind of put together has really been successful. So just kind of building on content that covers the pain points somebody might have before buying one of these watches, because seeing a diamond watch for $600, people are obviously going to have a lot of questions. So building content and tailoring it towards answering those has been huge.
Yeah, and I think that another thing, just from just a brand marketing standpoint, is like we don't outsource any of like our own content creation. Like the influencer and creator content is really to layer on top of like what value you're getting directly from the brand. Like we shoot our own stuff in-house, like as far as like product content, photo shoots. Like we really want to control that narrative of quality. And I think like people don't necessarily like see that directly, but like that is what's happening, and that really lives and breathes like next to our own product too. Like we don't want to sacrifice quality across the board when it comes to our brand, when it's like product design, product quality, media creation. Like we are so particular about when we put our own imagery out there about our brand. Like this is what you're getting. We understand that this stuff lives, even though it may live for a day on Instagram, it's on the web, and it lives on Pinterest, and it lives in Google Media Images. So like we are so we hold ourselves to a pretty high integrity when it comes to our brand content. And then just the influencer stuff is like really layered on top of that. And we're just continuously trying to up our game there, so that we can continue to bring like a value to our customers. They buy that watch that first time, and let's say they want to resell it on eBay in 2 years, and like people are looking up the brand, they're looking up images of that style, like it has like longevity. And that's really important to us as a company.
Nice. Yeah. So like tactically, obviously around the brand, you guys have to maintain, I think it makes perfect sense, obviously, that you're putting this much attention into it, because you have to, you want that premium vibe in everything you do. I was looking at your influencer posts. I saw this one guy with like really flashy, like purple puffy pants. And I thought to myself, like, it's out there, but I was impressed with it because it's like, you want to stay on the avant-garde. You want these influencers that are pushing the boundaries and trying to be flashy, because you never know who that's going to resonate with and how it might influence culture down the line. It's sort of an impressive strategy. Now, this idea of dark posting, white. It's funny. I just did a podcast yesterday where we talked a little bit in depth on dark posting, which sounds like a negative version where whitelisting sounds like, cleaner for some reason, but it's the same thing. It's essentially just working with influencers to run traffic through their accounts to their audience, as well as the audiences that we provide. Like Nate, can we talk a little bit about like how that's helped scale the campaigns?
For sure. Yeah, like I said, kind of just building out these steps in our retargeting funnel has been huge. So covering pain points, and a lot of consumers, especially with a brand like JBW, it's flashy. It's really important to see other people wearing the product. And when we're able to, show people, influencers wearing the product and styling it, it's a lot of inspiration for buyers, I think. And so it's been super helpful in converting people that we've, brought into our funnel from other areas. And yeah, we started a few months back. I guess it probably like 5 months now, Frank?
Yeah, like
Um,
late last year, I think, is whenever
yeah,
we.
yeah, and we started with just a few influencers. You know, JBW was already doing some influencer collabs. They were getting posts and stuff on Instagram, but we started whitelisting with just a few influencers. Saw some good initial results, and we've just expanded from there. And we're kind of pumping out new influencers and posts almost daily, it seems now.
Very cool. I was saying, I just did a meeting with a podcast with a jewelry company who has like really streamlined this process of dark posting, whitelisting, to the point where they're on a slow month saying they do 40 a month, which is kind of insane. But it shows you how much room there is to scale, right? When it comes to this tactic. Oh, you're muted there, Amir.
40 creators like live. Is that what you're saying? Like in their whitelisting?
40
wow.
40 influencer post collabs in a month. Over, they say in November for Black Friday, they're planning 600.
Oh, wow.
Wow. That's where we're headed. Yeah. I think we're running, right? At any time now, we're running between, 10 and 20 influencers at once. Some have multiple posts, some have just one. But we're also, moving towards this model now where we're getting permission to run our own content through influencer accounts, which has already been proven successful, as well as, getting influencers to send us content, and then we run it through their accounts, just so that we're not having to get them to post all the time. They don't want their feed to be too promoty. So that's definitely helped a lot with scaling it up.
Very cool. One of the things that I wanted to talk about was, a wise man, Muhammad Ali Agel, once said, a lot of people said this, but I learned it from Muhammad, that he who pays the most for a customer wins. So obviously getting AOV up with products is a hugely important goal. How are some ways that we've been able to get the AOV up for JBW and really help the scale? Cam, can you speak to that a bit?
I can speak to kind of what we're doing with it, like page testing and CRO on the back end. So yeah, recently as a test to try and increase AOV, what we've done is kind of build out a few pages, whether it's specific collections or men's collections or discount collections, whatever that may be. We've developed some pages around it and started optimizing pages Pilothouse side. And what we're seeing is AOV is actually increasing. Conversion rate, sometimes it may actually decrease, but overall, what we're seeing is people buying higher AOV, page speeds are increasing, and we quite honestly, we're still really early in the process. There's still lots of optimizations to be done to these pages, so it's really early, exciting success with this stuff. So yeah, what we're doing, with the help of Frank and new promos that we're launching on pages, it's really exciting to increase that AOV.
Yeah, I think one of the big things. Sorry, Frank. I think one of the big things is we've been working with JBW obviously for like a year and a half now, so we've really figured out which watches sell best. And luckily for us, it's been these higher ticket items that actually convert best. So we've focused a lot of our ad spend and a lot of our content creation around these key products, and so that's helped increase AOV a lot over the past year and a half.
And that's just such a good testament to your design ability. That these watches that you're putting the most materials into, the most design, into, are the ones that are selling the best as well. That's a real testament to your team.
Yeah. These watches that they've been, and Nate, you kind of hit the nail on the head. What I was going to say is, it's our best selling watches. Like that's been super helpful. It's like focusing on that content. And these two specific ones, Phantom and Jet Setter, have been cornerstone collections of ours, for, I guess, ever since we started, before my time, definitely. So just focusing on that and, expanding on what Cam said, these pages, I think, bring a different dimension than what's on our site. So it's been cool to see what Pilothouse has kind of mapped out on these new pages, new landing pages. And, I'm excited to see like how we can further grow these and mold these into, something that, continually it evolves, into something, better and better. So that's been cool.
Yeah. Let's talk about iteration. Like on a given week, how many different pieces of creative are we testing?
Yeah. So we usually do it in waves. Like Frank and Amir and the team, they have a full content team, which has been super helpful. We have ideas, shoot it over, they smash it out really fast. But they're equally as hungry as us to test. And so they're constantly just sending over new creatives. They're doing shoots for different collections, new influencer collabs, and then we have ideas, shoot it over to them. So probably twice a week we're getting big Google Drives full of creatives to test, as well as on the influencer side we're getting from Mariah and the influencer team. We're getting probably around 5 posts a week now that we're launching. Some weeks obviously a little bit slower, some weeks more. But yeah, so it's pretty much on a weekly basis. We'll get 2 big waves of branded content that we want to launch. Anywhere from 10 new creatives to it could be 50 on a given day, depending on what the occasion is. And then constant influencer collabs as well getting launched.
Yeah, and one thing I think I know we really appreciate is that y'all have been super on top of ROAS. So even though like we're testing new things, I think being really in tune with that ROAS and making sure that we're being profitable has been super key in developing that testing strategy. So that's been really good to see.
Very cool.
For sure.
So just at a high level, like what have we sort of, whatever you're comfortable with talking about revenue or whatever, but how many X sort of has JBW grown in these 2 years working with Pilothouse? What do you guess? Like
probably
that's
like
a hard one.
over 30.
I would say look at a couple of years, and definitely 10x is kind of what I saw from like a month. That doesn't include Q4. That was like a month of May or June is what I looked at. So
yeah,
definitely some big improvements.
Yeah.
I know it's been following Nate. Like I've been following Nate since this account started, basically, because I was kind of at the company even though I wasn't, and just I can't. It seems like just such a rewarding account to work on when you have such a good collaboration. I know you guys you flew down to Dallas as well. Was that?
Yeah.
I heard there may have been a foosball game involved.
Yeah, I think we might have actually bageled these 2.
Oh
my god.
Yeah,
we went down. I
still don't know what you're
September.
saying, Nick. I still feel like you're saying bagel. I still don't know what it really is.
Well, you got to come to our offices and you'll see the giant board that we have written there.
Yeah.
But yeah, we flew down, I guess that was September 2019 for a Q4 planning session. It was super helpful to kind of meet the team and actually get some hands-on time going through, accounts and creatives and preparation, and just kind of seeing how they work together and how their team's all laid out was super, super helpful.
Nice. And then just at a high level, how, when this whole thing started 2.5 months ago now, the COVID thing, I, did a survey of the accounts, and I had no idea how things were gonna shake out. And we, think it's an evolving situation. But I looked at luxury watches and I thought, okay, that could be a category that takes a hit, given that people don't have as many places to shine these days. Like where are we flashing our watches at this point? But it's been an amazingly strong campaign. What are your thoughts around that, given the current situation?
Yeah, it's funny. I actually came across an article. I don't remember where I read it, but it was saying accessories and apparel were down 50%. And we were really worried. We were concerned about a dip when this whole thing kind of started playing out. But as y'all know, like results have been stellar. It's like it was quite the opposite of what we were expecting. So yeah, I think it was just a matter of being quick to react on our site and on our ads. And I think Pilothouse, like y'all have done a great job of like being able to understand like the current state of the ad market, like how bids are working out and like how we can really jump on opportunities. So I think like that's been huge to our success and during this whole crazy time.
Yeah, I think we were actually supposed to fly down there, in April at some point, right? We were going to have another in-person meeting, which unfortunately got canceled due to everything. But yeah, we have definitely seen, obviously there's been lower CPMs and stuff on Facebook, and JBW's always been, and their team's always been super keen on scaling as fast as we can when we're seeing opportunity, and we saw that opportunity early days during this whole COVID thing, and we're able to just push the gas, and they've never had any payment issues. It's always on the ball on that kind of stuff. So it's really been helpful just being able to push the gas hard without anything stopping us when we see these little opportunities.
Very cool. Amir, what's your goal with JBW Diamond Watches? Like what I know, like obviously there's room to grow, you know, together. There's, you know, you guys have massive room to grow still. What's your ultimate goal with JBW Diamond Watches?
You know, I think our goal is really to, you know, solidify as like a diamond luxury watch brand. Like, you know, when you think of, and I'm talking like, you know, top five like independent watch companies in the US. Like, I mean, we've set that goal last year of like, that's where we want to be. And, you know, the top five is just more of like, it's just about breaking into that area because, you know, I believe we have something that other brands like definitely can't recreate. And I'm not saying like that's like a challenge. I just think that like there's like innate DNA of like how this brand started, the experience and what it's taken us to literally set over 10 million diamonds on watches and become craftsmen, build that value chain and expertise in technology and being able to do that well and bring it to the market. You know, those are like that history and time that we've spent in developing a brand and focusing on our products is now about just like really taking these products to the market, getting them into more customers' hands, and then building that like advocate and that collector. You know, our brand is like, you know, you think of like a watch brand, like, oh, like I'll buy one from this brand, I'll buy one from that brand. Our customers are coming back and they're obsessing over certain collections and then setting their eyes on the next one. And I think that like there's just so much value that we can bring to the customers, you know, lifestyle when it comes around accessorizing for men and for women. And, you know, we're always constantly thinking about that. And, you know, we're judging ourselves not against our competition, against ourselves all the time. And so, you know, we're kind of like in our own little zone. Like a lot of like, you know, luxury and fashion brands are typically in New York and LA when you're thinking about the US, but, you know, we're sitting in Dallas and, you know, so focused on delivering value and not getting caught up in some of the things that we could be caught up in if we're in like the big city with all the other brands. So, you know, focusing on that and focusing on our craft and focusing on watches. Like we don't want to get into jewelry. We don't want to get into anything else. We want to be a watch company. When people think of JBW, they need to think of watches. And, you know, that's, you know, some of like our longer term ambition. And no doubt that we're going to get there.
Amazing. Yeah, I believe it too. Then on the ad side, what are, not to put the heat on, but like, what are the next plans to get to that next plateau to really raise things up? Is it more collabs, bigger collabs? What does that look like?
I don't know, Frank.
I think, you know, it kind of all comes down to, you know, building content and like you said, you know, like bigger and, you know, more recognizable people.
Who's your goal? Who'd be your ultimate? If you could, like, I always thought Kevin Hart would be really good for you guys. Who would be the ultimate influencer for you guys?
Kevin Hart's a good one. We've actually used him in some of our mood boards for photo shoots.
Yeah.
Because he seemed really accessible. He's one of the biggest celebrities in the world, but he's also super accessible. And I think he'd be like down to earth about, you know, I don't know. That was my thinking with him.
No, you're on the same page.
Yeah.
That's
him. Awesome. I think on the women's side, like, I don't know, Kylie, she really represents kind of like the boss mom, but like the young, you know, she is like the ultimate influencer in my mind.
Definitely.
And very relatable, I think, too, with like something as simple as she does and like everyone gets behind it. But yeah, like, I mean, I don't know, like both of those are like really, really great names, obviously, to break into. But I think that we can get there, and I think it can be like authentic too, because like I said, it comes back down to the product and our brand. And I feel like, you know, one of our biggest like focuses this year is really not upgrading, but like really evolving our content and you know, the narrowing down like our product collection. And like once we can focus on those things and like bring that value, and then, you know, that next step is getting it in the right people's hands and getting the right influential individuals to like authentically represent our brand. And I think we're on our path there, and we're not in a rush. You know, we're trying to do it step by step.
Yeah, I think Amir brought up a good point. There's a lot of like foundational things that we're relooking at this year, you know, whether it's our client services department, like beefing that up to like be more accessible and be more, you know, like going above and beyond for our customers. Cause I think that's definitely like a key thing whenever people are looking at luxury, you know, items, is like, am I going to have the support I need for what I'm paying? So building up that, and then also, you know, our site is like, you know, it's become a huge, you know, primary channel of like where we sell our watches now. So it's looking at our site internally and seeing, you know, how can we make our site convert better, whether that's, you know, different, you know, testing different designs or adding new functionalities. You know, being on Shopify allows us to really expand and like test, you know, new and different, you know, apps and whatnot. So I think, you know, those foundational things too, in addition to product, are some of the things that could help us, you know, even further our ad success.
Awesome. If anyone in the audience who's listening to this knows
one more
Kevin
thing,
Hart,
like,
make sure.
Oh yeah.
Send them our way.
Comment. Let Eric know who's his
that's
manager. But no, and I think like there's a couple of like things we have in our back pocket that we're working on for the second half of this year. I don't want to say too much, but like some top secret like things that like products wise that we're working on that are going to be a first in the watch industry and a first in price point that we're bringing. And I think that you know, that again comes back to that value that we're providing and creating for our customers. And like I just like keep watching the brand and follow and see what we're up to, because we're going to be doing some things that aren't being done. And I think that's part of like not being the same as every other brand or every other brand in the fashion space. That comes down to innovation too, and those are things that we're always working on.
Very cool. Now,
definitely some exciting things coming. But Eric, to answer your question, I think our overall, you know, paid social goal is 10x again.
All right, let's go.
With you.
Let's go.
Let's effing go. I'll say our audience, we have thousands of like high level marketers, and a lot of them like to be flashy as well. So you might with this podcast, you might uncover a sub niche of global you know, jet setting marketers. Eventually we'll get back to going to conferences and stuff, and we're all going to want a JBW timepiece to just
Let's
like
go.
What's up.
Let's go.
That's the main goal. Okay, awesome. All right, well, let's end this in the traditional way of like looking at our cameras and making YouTube faces for the screenshot. 1, 2, 3. Okay, that's kind of weird. I gotta refine that process. But thanks so much for coming on today, Amir and Frank. And I really look forward to the time where we can, you know, meet in person at some point, even go as far as shaking hands.
Yeah. We definitely want to make it up there. I love Victoria.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
You guys
We'll show you the bagel board in person.
Yeah.
Zing. Anyways, thanks guys.
Awesome.
Thanks for the what an amazing client relationship. Thanks for taking the time to. The last thing I would say is, you know, people who are making these interviews are being open about the strategies and tactics that are working for them. We really appreciate that. And I think you hit the nail on the head, Amir, when you were just talking about the moat that you've built. Like, and I didn't even realize that this is a generational thing for you, that this is like this whole family history of like these high quality timepieces. I came from a world with e-com where we were dealing with a lot of drop shippers, a lot of people just sort of like, grabbing products, finding something that works. But when you have as much attention and as much history into a product as you guys have, it really is about just applying that rocket fuel to it, because your foundations are so strong.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think that's where like the competitive advantages come into play. And like today, anyone can start a brand, anyone can go and market their products and, you know, do drop ship things and things like that. But like we're trying to bring a whole nother value set to the customer than that.
Nice. All right. Well, thanks again, guys. And we'll see you soon. Let's just keep scaling. Let's 10X it again.
Yeah, let's go. 10X.
Hell yeah.
Do it.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
All right, later.